Hi. Many years ago, when I was shortlisting resumes from an IIM, I noticed a very interesting resume that had come my way. The resume had a lot of content going for it, whether it was the right set of academics, the right positions of responsibility, the right work experience, or the right internships. But unfortunately, the resume was not constructed very well. The story of that resume was not coming out very well, and as a result, we did not actually shortlist that person. Why do I tell you all this? The reason I'm narrating this story to you is because constructing your resume is an extremely important part of your career. If you are in your college or if you're in a business school, you have your final placements or your internships coming up. If you're someone who's been working for some time, given the way the economy has been moving, you will probably get that opportunity you're looking for, but making a good resume is actually going to be step one in cracking that process. In this video, I'm going to talk from a recruiter's perspective. I've been doing this process for 10 years, having shortlisted and interviewed candidates at IITs, IIMs, and ISB. My name is Sandeep Das. I'm an MBA from IIM Bangalore and I have a strategy course from NCR. I have nearly 12 years of experience having held leadership positions in FMCG and consulting. Outside my work, I have 3 successful books, with my third book, Hacks for Life and Career, A Millennial's Guide to Making It Big, being a bestseller on Amazon. So let's get started on some of the guiding principles that you should be careful about when you frame your resume. The first guiding principle is you should know how our mind thinks. Any recruiter of yours, and this is across industries, whether it's technology, whether it's consulting, whether it's finance, irrespective of what people tell you, no recruiter or no shortlister will give more than 30 seconds per resume. So what do we typically read within 30 seconds in a resume? We typically read 4 to 5 sentences, meaning the first 2 sentences of your resume and the various subsequent sections you have, which could be extracurricular activities, positions of responsibility, internships, work experience, the first line of each of those sections. And if something catches our eye, maybe the second line. So that's how a typical recruiter's mind works. A few basic things you should always take care of. One, I have seen many people make this mistake that they focus on quantity of points. They reduce the font, they fill up too many words. When a person is only going to give you 30 seconds, you should focus on the readability of the resume. So keep the font size fine, which is easily readable. If need be, take out 2 or 3 points. The number of points rarely matters because no one's going to read through all the points. The second guiding principle that you have to consider, given what I just said as principle number 1, is get your section order correct. So for instance, in your resume, you will have various sections. For students, it will be academic achievements. For people who are working, you'll have a strong work experience. You'll have positions of responsibility, extracurriculars, academic projects, internships. And a resume typically has 4 to 5 sections. Now, what is important is you should play to your strength. So the section ordering should be done in descending order of your strength. Now, in some cases, this flexibility might not be available. So if you are studying in a business school or in your college, the institute might say that academics has to be the first section, and after that, everything is flexible. And you should do that. Put academics as the first section, and the remaining 4 sections should be in descending order of strength. Now, if you're working and if you have more than 5 years of experience, your work ex will be the first section by default, and the rest should be in descending order of strength. So for instance, if your extracurriculars is very, very strong, or if your social service is very strong, and typically it goes as section number 5, you should actually look to play to your advantage and make it section number 2. Why do I say this? It is very simple. Again, your recruiter is only going to give you 30 seconds, and you should ensure within that 30 seconds you actually catch his eye. The third guiding principle that you should be careful about is when your recruiter reads the first line of your section, how do you actually catch his attention? How do you catch his or her attention so that they go to the second line or go to the third line? And one of the easiest ways to do that is to ensure that the first line in a section is actually a summary of the entire section. So for instance, if someone whose extracurriculars is very strong, The first line of that section can be participated in 6 inter-college festivals, captain of the swimming team. Now that summarizes the entire section for you. Or if someone whose positions of responsibility is very impressive, the first line of that could be part of 3 student clubs, organized the business festival and mentored 10 people in my final year. Now if the recruiter is interested about more details about the section, they will actually start reading the second or third line. So always remember, the first line of a section should be always written in the summary form. The fourth guiding principle, and this is something I am asked a lot when I mentor students and mentor working professionals, is how is WorkX evaluated and how do we show the quality of the work experience? The first thing we look at is impact. What does impact mean? Something in terms of numbers. So someone might come and say that I was part of a small district or a region and sales during my time grew by 40%. Someone might say I was handling this cost item of 20 crores. I brought in a 5% efficiency and saved 1 crore for the company. This is tangible rupees impact. Now, sometimes for people who are less than 4 to 5 years of work experience, you might not have these kind of numbers because you probably don't have the holistic ownership of that cost item or the revenue item. You can still show numbers even with 2 to 3 years of work experience. For instance, you can show process numbers as we talk about. So you were looking at a process and as a result, the turnaround time reduced by 20%. Or you were looking at mapping the inventory in a system, and because of the model that you built, inventory went down by 5%. Or you were looking at analyzing consumer feedback. You actually analyzed that, did something on social media as a result, and the impressions shot out by 25%. The second part of WorkX that we look at is who are the people you managed or who are the people you dealt with. Now, often for people in their 20s, it's not necessarily they may have a set of direct reportees. If they have, that's very good, but not all of them might have. So for instance, you could work with distributors, you could work with suppliers. Distributors have their own team. So indirectly, you are managing a team of 20, 30 through your distributors. You could be working with various marketing agencies, various channel partner agencies. So it's very important to bring out that who is the ecosystem that you worked with. Either they could be partnering with you or they could have been reporting to you. Because when you bring out that ecosystem, we understand how a person works with various sets of people and if he's matured enough to handle different vendors and different partnerships. The third question that we look at when we evaluate work experience is in terms of who have you presented to in the company. So how many times have you presented to, say, the vice president, the head of the division? Why do we look at this? The reason that we look at this is typically when you present to the leadership of the company or fairly senior people to the company, it means you have confidence in your work. It means you have a certain poise, you have a certain presence. Also, you can defend your work, and most importantly, you can answer the tough questions which leadership will always ask. And the more number of times you do this, the better it is. Now, when I say senior stakeholders, it need not always be the CEO of the company. It can be someone who's 2 levels senior to you. Even that is considered senior enough when we look at the quality of a resume. The fourth point that we look at when we evaluate WorkX is in terms of what else have you done at your place of work? And what else typically means, have you participated in any CSR initiative, or were you a part of, say, campus recruiting, or were you a part of any event outside your direct line of work with HR? And typically when you see these 4 points, it gives a very good set of understanding of how a person is done. Now, most people will obviously mention that if they have got promoted, they got promoted. If they got a very good rating, they all say that. But we also look at these other 4 questions to evaluate the quality of work experience for a person. The last guiding principle is more about tactical intelligence. The first question I'm always asked is, if my academics are not great, should I show it? Now, here is how a recruiter thinks. When you do not show your academics, I will assume the worst, which means you are in the bottom 10% or the bottom 20% of your batch. So if you are in the bottom 10% or the bottom 20% of your batch, maybe you can choose not to show it. But if you are in the middle, and if you choose not to show it, what happens is, in my mind, I'm assuming the worst about your academics. So say academics is in the middle, how can you flip that around? You need not show your entire scores. You can only play out certain subjects where you did very well, or certain semesters that you absolutely did very well. The second tactical question I'm often asked is in terms of, there is so much emphasis on filling up white spaces, filling up words, making the resume heavy. This is the single biggest mistake you can make in your resume, is making it too wordy, too crowded, and no white space at all. Understand it is about user experience. I'm going to give 30 seconds to your resume, and you should focus on the readability of the resume. So ensure the font size is fine. If need be, cut down 3 or 4 points. Remember, I'm only going to read 5 sentences on your resume. So have the right font size. Do not bold too many words. Make it easier to read. That's how you should look at framing the resume. The third is, should you exaggerate your achievements? Now, to be honest, I've been doing this for a long time through IITs, IIMs, and ISB. Honestly, everybody exaggerates their achievements. The fine line is never lie.
किसी भी विषय पर बोलो तो सिर्फ और सिर्फ झूठ बोलो.
If you were handling 10 people, don't make that 15. If you were leading it with someone else and you call yourself led, that's honestly fine. But the fine lie is never lie. Never lie about numbers. Never lie about something you haven't done. So here are the 5 guiding principles I could think about. Now, if you look at what it takes to get into a consulting firm or a finance firm, that's a different video and we will cover it later. But these are more generic principles that you should consider while making a resume. What are some of your guiding principles that you use when you construct your resume? Why don't you drop them in the comment section? Now, some of you might have the question, can you show us a good resume? So what I'm going to do is, with this video, you will see my own resume that is getting attached. It's a bit dated, it's about a year old, but you'll get a good flavor of how a resume should look. Now, I don't claim my resume is the best or it's very good, but it'll give you a good sense of certain guiding principles when you construct a resume. Now, in case you're looking for a more holistic commentary on how a resume should look, you can also refer my book, Hacks for Life and Career, Millennials Guide to Making It Big. Some of the points I was mentioning in this video are actually coming from my book. Now, if there are certain courses or certain skill sets you want to pick up so that you can write in your resume, you can also look at inside IIM or Alt. You need a line of courses that they offer. The description to some of those courses are mentioned alongside the video below. So in summary, making a resume is one of the most important skill sets you will have. Like I said, if you remember the first incident, someone who had a lot going on in the resume, but because it was not coming out well, eventually did not make the shortlist. This is something you will carry in your 20s, 30s, 40s, and potentially even in your 50s. The guiding principles I have mentioned in this video are a good set of principles to get you started. If you have more questions or suggestions, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can drop me messages there and I'll reply to as many as I can. If you like this video, you can always check out the other videos I have created for this channel. And till next time, take care.